done $1 billion in sales, done $3 million in like 1 hour on stage.
3.2, but who's counting? Yeah.
3.27.
Sounds like you're selling lingerie or something. She's like, we can never tell my family about this. I was like, oh man.
I'm Mexican. You could do like a whole campaign just to the Latin community. The message could be, you could make money even if you get deported. I got deported, but I'm still making money from my laptop.
We have to make this ad now. I'm in Michigan now, they're gonna wave at me. I look over and there's a car and the guys driving by, they're all, go back to Utah and flipping us off and stuff. And I was like,
I have a proposal. On the plane, I noticed that when there's crying babies, everyone's really upset. So I created something.
you got a winner, I don't know.
So it's a bag and it's soundproof. And I figured we could have like oxygen as like an upsell because they gotta breathe.
Who set up this interview?
I'm so excited to chat with the man that wrote Expert Secrets. This book right here, 6 years ago, I was living in a garage, sleeping in a garage, about to have a baby, super scared. And within 2 years, I had made millions of dollars because of this book right here, Expert Secrets. Thank you, Russell Brunson, for being here.
Thanks for having me here.
I am going to say that this book, there's Expert Secrets, and then there's the Bible.
Kristine, we can't say that.
Jesus fed 5,000 people, but you fed like hundreds of thousands of people. So like one
lightning.
One Russell, zero Jesus. So how does it feel to be the funnel Jesus?
Kristine! No.
Can we run this as an ad?
No, definitely not.
Cool, and then the music is like get the book. Okay.
From not the funnel Jesus.
From not funnel Jesus. Yes, with that, from not funnel Jesus. Okay, so everything I just shared is like, that blows my mind whenever I say that. When it comes out of my mind, it's like, or my mouth. Like 6 years ago, I was living in a garage, and now we're here.
That's crazy.
You know, and millions of dollars, mainly because of this book. Everybody that's watching, I'm going to put a link down below. Every time someone asks me, like, hey, Kristine, how'd you do that? Like, it's always started with this book. And I actually didn't even do any coaching. I didn't do any, it was just literally from this book from me. So this book is so, so powerful. So everybody needs to get
so cool.
Expert Secrets. But you've now done, I mean, you've done $1 billion in sales. Mm-hmm. You've done, what was it, $3 million in like 1 hour on stage?
3.2, but who's counting? Yeah.
3.27. But what I'm kind of like really interested in is kind of going like way back and like kind of, because to become that person that's like such a, like you were obviously, you know, not that person when you started out. Yeah. Can we go like way back? Like, can I ask some questions from like how you got started and everything?
How far back?
How far back? Well, one, like, I mean, when you were like little Russell, like, like what was that already an interest? Like, how did it even happen that you became so obsessed with sales?
So back then I thought my name was Rusty because my parents called me Rusty. I didn't find until first grade my teacher called me Russell, and she taken roll, I didn't raise my hand. So little Rusty, who we'll talk about because he's the best. So it started for me, it was literally my dad was watching the news one night and my mom had gone to bed and he didn't know I was still in the room. And the news got done, and then after the news was MASH. So I watched MASH and I was like, my dad's not making me go to bed, but I think I was hidden. And then after that, an infomercial came up for Don Lapre, who was the original OG infomercial dude, and he had an infomercial teaching people how to make money with classified ads. And little Rusty saw that and freaked out and begged my dad to buy it for me. And I was like, we have to buy this, it's $40, this kit's gonna teach you how to make money with classified ads. And my dad's like, no, we're not gonna do that.
How old were you?
Probably been, I think 12, 10, 11, 12, somewhere like that. But I remember, so I wrote down the phone number because it's like, I still remember that it was like, if you call in the next 15 minutes, we're gonna give you this free report on how to do your own 1-900 number. I was like, Dad, we gotta do it quick, you know? And he wouldn't do it, so I wrote down the number and I was just waiting. I was like, watching the clock, like, Dad, like 2 more minutes. He's like, go to bed, go to my, so the clock went to 0 and I was just like, oh, Dad, you missed it, like, you know? And I went to bed and next morning, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was like, we have to, like, I'm like, Dad, we have to do this. So he's like, if you really want that, you can earn the money. So he started me mowing the lawns. I spent a whole month mowing lawns, made my $40. And then I had the phone number, but I didn't want to call it because I didn't want to miss the bonus of the thing. So my dad, I stayed like 3 nights in a row with my dad, waiting for the infomercial to come again. And finally it popped up and I was waiting. I'm like, hey, Dad, wait. And then it popped up like, call in the next 30 minutes. I'm like, Dad, call now, call now. So he's calling. He had my cash. He took his credit card. He ordered the kit for me. So and cool. I still have it somewhere to this day. But it's the original Don Lapre, How to Make Money with Tiny Classified Ads. And so that was how I got started. And I remember reading that and just, I couldn't afford to buy a classified ad, but it made sense to me. It was like, I remember in the infomercial, it's like I put an ad in a newspaper and I made $30 profit. And I told my friends and they all made fun of me. But I took that same ad and I placed it in 1,000 newspapers and I made $30,000. And I was just like, this makes sense to me. Like, also like direct response in my head was just like, you know, and I was ruined. Because I remember after that, like getting my very first job and I was like planting trees and I was just like, I'm an idiot. Like, why am I getting paid $7 an hour to do this? Like, you know, and like I was just like kind of ruined because I understood that the leverage of like, if I get paid hourly versus if I do something, if I get paid 100 times or 1,000 times. And so that's where it all started.
It was already like one to many. You're like 12. Like, I'm already going to like paid advertisement.
This will be amazing.
Now, was it sales, or was there something specific that you were like, I want to sell something specifically, or was it just like, I just want to master like sales? Because I know even for me, when I first started, when I was like 6, we were obsessed with lighting things on fire. And so then I would take everything that we burned and I would go door to door and try to sell it. Like, it was just whatever it was. It was like a burnt fork and I'm like, want to buy this? Like, I'm literally going door to door. And I don't know what it was. It was just this weird desire to sell something. Like, was that kind of like, I'm trying to
remember. I think I was very introverted and scared, so I wouldn't have dared to go door to door until I went on my mission. We'd have that conversation. But what happened next is after I tried the classified thing, and then I remember with my mom at the grocery store, and there was like the magazine stand when you're checking out, and there's a magazine called Small Biz Op Magazine, and it was like 55 ways to get rich. So I was like, Mom, please buy me this. So she bought me the magazine. And what's cool is in the magazine, it's like basically all ads, and every ad's got a different biz op. So one was like, you can paint the ceiling in someone's room and the stars will glow at night, and they'll pay you. Send or call us phone number for free info kit. So I called the number, send me the free info kit. And the next page is like, you can make these little tiny donuts at fairs and people will pay you. So I call for the free info kit. So I called for the free info kit. Next one's like, you can sell gold by the chain at the mall. And like, these guys they cut off gold chains and they'd sell them at the mall. And how testimonials, like, oh, call for the free info kit. So I called every info kit. And what I didn't realize at the time, these are all like lead gen ads, right? So every single one I call, and the info kits show up, and every info kit was a sales letter. So this is where I got into it. I was like, I get the sales letter, and I open it up, and I read the headline, and then the story, and these are like, again, great copywriters, but I didn't know what it was back then, but I was reading these letters. I would sit there in bed at night just reading these letters. And I remember, for me, there's like, some letters I'm like, this is stupid. And then some letters I was like, I need to ask my mom for a credit card. And I made like 2 piles. And so I was like, these ones made me want to do something. These ones just sounded dumb. And so, anyway, so I started to look at that. And then one of the info kits I got was talking about direct mail. They're like, this is how direct mail works. You rent a list of people who are interested in something, and you send them a letter. And they're like, if 1 out of 10 people buy, you're rich. And they did the math, you know. You send a letter to 1,000 people. You get 100 purchases at $50. You just made $5,000. So again, 12-year-old Rusty's like, I was freaking out. It's for Christmas, or for my birthday that year, I asked for stamps. And so I got 38 stamps for Christmas for my birthday. And I still remember this because I was so excited, but I didn't have a mailing list or a sales letter or a product. So I wrote a sales letter on the typewriter and I photocopied it 38 times. And then I folded it and I put my 38 stamps on it, but I didn't have a mailing list. So I just randomly got the phone book out and I was like flipping. I'm like, this one. I wrote the address. I just flipped through there.
Did you get any sales?
No, I was like 38. If I get 3 people to buy 10%, and I sent them out, and nothing ever came back from it. But that's what for me. So it was more like I can sell without talking to people. I can write something and send it out, and then just wait, and then money will show up. That's like in my head what the magic was.
Right away you were thinking of, how do I get to an audience? Like immediately it was like, okay, I have a product, but how do I get to an audience? And then when you went into, how old were you whenever you started going door to door, like for the Mormon church?
So my mission, so I would have been 19.
What was like, because I would imagine you're thinking about going to an audience, and now you're going door to door. So you're getting the rejection, because I've gone door to door too. You and I have talked about this, and knocking on people's doors and then slamming doors in your face.
Scariest thing ever, yeah.
What was that like? Can you just describe like a day and like going door to door doing this? I can't imagine.
Yeah, I remember my first day. So I get in New Jersey. Again, I'm like green as can be, scared to death talking to people face to face, and they give you a companion. So I'm with this guy and we're going door to door.
Did you have one of those bikes?
Yeah.
You did? Oh my God, those are the 2-person bikes?
Oh, no, not 2-person bike. We had our own bikes.
Okay.
It was awesome.
I was just imagining like you
Bling, bling, bling. Had the name tag though and everything. But I remember because I thought I was going to watch him for like 2 or 3 weeks and like learn and see how it all works. So he knocked on the first door and he did the door approach. And I was like, okay, try and pay attention. And next he knocks on the door and then he steps aside. He's like, you're up. I was like, what? And they open the door and I was like, hi, I'm Elder Brunson. And then all of a sudden she slammed the door in my face. And I'm just like heartbroken. And my companion starts laughing. He's like, that was bad. Come on, let's go. And I was like, dude, you just like, I was like, do I get to watch you for a couple days first? He's like, no, like we switch every other door. Like you're up, like you got to start figuring it out quick. And I was like, oh. And then I remember we're like 4 or 5 houses down. And again, I grew up in Utah. So in Utah, when you see the missionaries walking by, you honk and you wave because like, oh, the missionaries. So I'm walking, all of a sudden someone honks. I'm like, oh, like I'm a missionary now. They're going to wave at me. I look over and there's a car and the guys driving by. They're all, go back to Utah and flipping us off and stuff. And I was like, I'm like waving like, oh, they don't like me here. And it was just like, this is going to be a long term.
And this was all day one?
Day one, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But then, you know, similar experiences you had, like all sorts, like some people were amazing, like you and some people were nice, but some people are, like one guy I remember, like they hear the dog barking and we're knocking on the door. And so I'm assuming, you know, whatever, he comes to the door, opens it, and he sicks his dog on us. And this dog chases us down the thing and like bit my companion. And like, I was like, we're human beings. We're like 19-year-old kids and the guy's sicking his dog on us. All sorts of just weird experiences like that. So
how many people, like how many doors did you have to knock on before somebody was like?
It depended on the areas. So when you were in like poor areas, it was awesome. Like we all fought to get, like I was in Camden and like areas that are really poor are the best because every 2 or 3 doors you get in, because everyone's like wants to talk about God. They're all, you know, God-fearing people, and it's really fun. Then you go to the rich areas, like, and you knock for days not getting able to let you in. Like,
oh wow.
You know, so like, we always fight to get to the more poor areas, people more humble and more fun to talk to.
More receiving.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I'm imagining you going door to door and even thinking about like sales now. It's like your offer is like salvation. Like that's a pretty good offer. Like that's a. Like,
here's the pitch. So I was like, hey, here's the offer. Like, you have to give up alcohol, tobacco, coffee, tea, all premarital and extramarital sex, and 10% of your income for the rest of your life. And if you do that and don't screw it up, then you might get salvation. Like, that's the offer. I'm like, that's a hard sell. That's why you look at.
But that's
like,
why you're so good at selling.
I'm like, I can sell like coaching programs. Is easy.
Well, you know, what's funny about that is like also you think of like all the things that make an irresistible offer. You think of like you need testimonials, but it's not like someone would be like, I died and now I'm with Jesus.
Yeah,
like
this is fantastic.
It worked for me, you know, or someone couldn't be like, it didn't work for me. I'm in this really hot place and I'm on fire. Like there's no.
Wish I would have done that instead.
But like you think about also like I'm imagining like if it were like a sales page and it's like you think of like scarcity and urgency. It's like what, like Jesus only has 20 more slots this month. You know?
Speaking of, I was in Camden, New Jersey, which was the poorest area I was in, right during Y2K. So if y'all remember 2020 or 2000, everyone was freaked out Y2K, thought the world was going to end, right? And so the 3 weeks leading up to Y2K, we got in almost every door. Because you knock on the door and people come out like, because they thought we were like Jesus people. Like, you're the Jesus people. Like, yeah, they're like, is the world going to end in 3 weeks? We're like, it might be. You should let us in. And they let us in. And so we like leading up to Y2K, we got in every single door. It was amazing. And then Y2K happened, the world didn't end, and we go back and knock on the door for like our return appointment. And they're like, no, we're good. We're like, what? They're like, yeah, well, we didn't, you know, the world's not over, so we're good. I'm like, seriously, you were that scared of the world ending that you let me in and now you won't let us come back because you're like, it's a day later, we're fine.
Oh, that's great. You guys, like, the months up to that, you were like,
because we had some urgency and scarcity.
Yeah.
It's like, this is amazing. Urgency and scarcity works, especially like
God, that's so
when they think the
funny.
world's going to end, so.
You had told me this really funny story. Remember when there was like, 6 of us, we all went on a jet to Wise, Virginia. It was so funny. And you were telling me this story about a young lady that was gay. Mm-hmm. And then can you just tell this story? Because it's just so
I didn't tell the
great.
story.
Please tell the story.
This is awkward Russell not knowing how to tell the story. Okay, yeah, so our next door neighbor were these 2 lesbian girls. And so we'd see them every single day when we come back to our apartment and stuff. And one day they'd gotten in a fight or something, and there was one there. She was super sad outside, and we're like, hey, well, we have a message about Christ. We want to hear about it. She's like, yeah, finally, come tell me. So we teach her the first discussion, which we talk about God and talk about Christ and everything. And she's so excited, so into this. And she's like, but I couldn't get baptized if I'm lesbian, right? We're like, no, I mean, you can't, whatever. And so that was kind of where it ended. And then the next day we're coming home from whatever at night, and she's so excited. She runs up, she's like, elders, I'm so excited. I'm like, what? She's like, I went on a date with the guy from the convenience store down the street. We're like, that's awesome, like, congratulations. She's like, yeah, we had sex. I'm not gay anymore. And we're like, you went, like, you also
At least
can't.
she's not gay.
Yeah, it's like, you also can't do that. Anyway, again, 19-year-old awkward
like,
Russell.
What'd you do? You're like, what?
Like, yeah, you're trying to celebrate, like, yay, we need to have another discussion, so, yeah. But again, think how awkward I feel now talking about, imagine 19-year-old Russell with my shaved head, like, what do I do? Nobody taught me how to handle these kind of
the guy at the
things.
convenience store. I had sex with him. Jesus can love me now. You're like,
Like he always loved you, but this is, yeah, anyway.
she was so happy.
She was so excited.
So how
New
many,
Jersey.
Yeah, in New Jersey. So how many doors did you knock on before you were like, I want to sell like potato guns? Like maybe I'm gonna sell potato guns. Like how did this progression happen?
Well, it's 2 years on my mission, and so we did that, and then came back home, and I was just wrestling. So I was wrestling in Boise State, and then I met Colette, and I was like, I want to marry this girl, but I didn't have a job, and I was like trying to figure things out. And I remember good old infomercials saved me every time. Infomercial popped up on TV. It's like, how to make money. Come meet at the Holiday Inn tonight at 6 or whatever. I was like, sweet, I'm in. So I head down to the Holiday Inn right by the airport. So you drive by, it's right there. Go to the Holiday Inn, and there's this guy up there. I think it was Store Builders, which was they did a big seminar company way back in the day. And so they're pitching me on like getting a store and setting up a merchant account and selling. So they're going through the whole thing. And I remember they were selling different packages of stuff you could sell. But all I remember, I was like, as I was listening to him talk, I was like, this is just like back in the day when I was reading the sales letters. They're like, you rent a list of people, you write a sales letter, you send it out. I was like, the problem is like, it was expensive. Like my 38 stamps I had, like it was expensive to send out 100,000 sales letters. This guy was like basically explaining it, but he's like, yeah, you get an email list and then you write an email and you send it out to people. And I was like, this is just like direct mail, only I don't have to pay for postage. I just send an email to the list. And if it goes out to 10,000 or 100,000 people, if I get half a percentage of, I'm in the back doing the math.
Right,
like,
doing the math.
Okay, 100,000 people times 0.05% times $50. I'm like, I'm rich. That's one email. I can send an email every day. And like, so the wheels were in my head at this event. And I remember because he had sold, they were selling this, like, it was like a vacation coupon book thing, right? And so you got the rights to sell it for a couple $100. So I bought the rights to sell this. And I'm like, this is the greatest product ever. So then I get home and I was like, okay, I don't have an email list, but I have a product now to sell. So I'm like, how do I sell this? And so I was trying to figure it out. And again, this is 20 years ago. So this is before all the tools we have nowadays. Back then it was really hard. So I was trying to figure out how to send emails. So I finally found some software that you could set up on your computer, but it would actually run off your computer. And then you have to like get an Excel sheet and upload your CSV files to everybody's email address. But I had no email address. So I'm like, how do I do that? So I Googled like how to get email addresses, and I found a site. It was called spamfreeemailaddresses.com, I think, and it was a DVD with like 6 million people's email names on it. Name and email addresses. I'm like, 6 million? I'm already doing my numbers, like 6 million times 1%. I'm like, Colette, we're gonna be rich. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, just trust me. So I bought the DVD for like $60, which was a lot of money. And it shows up, I'm like, this is like billions of dollars sitting in the CD. And so I remember getting on and I copied the entire thing onto my computer and I put it in the software. And then I tried to click send, but then my ISP was blocking it. So I called like 10 different internet service providers to get one that would allow me to be able to send
6 million.
Yeah, they'd open up some port. I had to pay for something extra for them to open up some port. Yeah. So that night, I remember I got all in there. So I wrote an email, and it was like a 2-paragraph email about something, and then it was me pitching the coupon books, and I had a PayPal link. They could buy it, and then that was it. So I wrote the email, add 6 million email names, click send. I saw like email 1 go out, and then 2. And 3, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be rich. Like, I'm just
getting refresh on your bank account.
Yeah.
Sales yet? Colette, quit your job.
So that's what happened. So at night, I was like, Colette, you can quit your job like tomorrow. She's like, what are you talking about? Like, just trust me. Like,
we're gonna be rich.
The math. I'm like, here's the math again, And then go to bed that night, wake up in the morning, come back out, and on the thing it sent like 6,500 emails. I'm like, why is this taking so long? I should be, And we were using dial-up modem back then. So Colette had to go to work, and she's like, I need to use the phone for something. And so I was like, so I had to pause the sender, get under the desk, unplug the modem, plug back in the phone line. And as soon as I plugged it in, the phone rang. I was still under the desk, the phone rang. I was like, that's weird. So I pick it up, and it was the internet service provider who had set me up the day before. And he was like cursing me and F-wording me and gonna sue me. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no. I'm like, dude, the email address I'm sending, they're spam for email addresses. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I bought them on this website. They're spam free. Like, they want us to send the messages. And I remember he's like, that's the definition of spam, or the definition of spam, son, or something. And I was like, so then he shuts me down. He's threatening to sue me. But anyway, I remember coming out and Colette's like, are you okay? I'm like, don't quit your job today. Like, it's not gonna work.
Not yet.
And so I was like, frustrated. And then I remember that day, I'm walking to school, to Boise State University, go to my class. I'm like all bummed out because I thought I was gonna quit college and just be done, And then during the break, I go to the computer lab, because this is before we had laptops or cell phones. Go to the computer lab, and I check my email, and there's like 5 PayPal notifications. I was like, what? I logged into PayPal and I sold 5 things. And I was like, okay, I did it wrong, but it worked. I was like, there's a right way to do this, but I don't have proof this is actually real and
Right.
I can make money. And so that's what started me in this whole game.
And then so, I love the potato gun story, and I've never told you this before, but my family, when we were young, you cannot give Mexicans potato guns because we just do bad stuff with them. So like my family, like Drew, who's behind the camera, my brother, like, and my uncle, like grown people that shouldn't be doing these things. Like everyone's grabbing potato guns and like shooting them at like cars driving by. It's like really bad. It's your fault, Russell. Because we were able to.
I bought Russell's course and we got thrown in jail.
Yeah, so like literally shooting at like semis going by, and it's like hitting the semis. It's going like boom, and then like my family's like hiding behind the hills, like.
Someone's
Like, yeah, exactly. Like I don't even know what happened. Like we were, when you're young, you don't think about like consequences.
Yeah,
like we
somebody
know.
could die.
Yeah, someone could die. So like we were building potato guns and shooting them into traffic. But for you, that was obviously not your sales pitch with potato guns. But I'm also imagining, because were you married by the time you started doing potato guns? I was imagining you like putting together, like assembling these potato guns. And I was trying to imagine like Colette, because I know Colette, because she's so sweet and she's so amazing. I was just imagining what's going through her head, like, that's my guy. Like, the guy that's doing potato guns, that's who I'm trusting my future with, right there. Like, what was her reaction to, like, the potato guns?
It was so funny. Well, the very first, so before potato guns, I was like, I want to sell software. So I'm like, I'm going to sell software. I'm going to sell exciting software. It's going to be amazing. So I remember my first domain I ever bought was, and I couldn't get the .com, so I got the .net, but it was like siteware.net. And I was like, I'm selling exciting software. I was so excited. So I bought the domain. I was figuring out how to set the website and everything. And she came home from work that night, and I was like, Colette, I got our first domain. And she's like, what is it? I told her, like, siteware.net. She's like, how much did you spend on that? I was like, I got $100 or something. She's like, what are you selling? I'm like, software. She's like, it sounds like you're selling lingerie or something. She's like, we can never tell my family about this. And I was like, oh man, I didn't even think about that. And she was like so embarrassed. And so that was our first thing. And like, so I lost like $100 and I'm like, I had to leave a new name. So I kept trying different things. And so she was very much, and my wife, you know her, she's the opposite. I'm like risk adverse. I'm trying crazy stuff. And she's the opposite, like very, does not want anything in her world to change, not risk averse, doesn't want to put herself out there. Like, you know, basically the opposite of me is like the two of us, right?
Balance.
And so as I'm doing stuff, she's always like her biggest thing is like, is this legal? Is this legal? Are you gonna go to jail? Like every time, because like so when the emails went out, right, and then it get shut down, she's like, are you gonna go to jail? I'm like, I'm not gonna go to jail. It's gonna be fine. I had a couple other hits and misses throughout, and every time it's like, are you gonna go to jail for this? And then the potato gun. So the funniest thing, when we made the potato gun and we filmed the DVD, for the end of the DVD, we wanted videos of us actually shooting it. So we went out and we were shooting it, and the place we were shooting at was like Army land or something. So we're shooting it, all of a sudden the 2 big Army like Jeeps start coming out to us, and she's pregnant with the twins at this point. So she's like, you know, not comfortable anyway. And so we're driving in like crazy. These guys and these big old Army guys come out, and she's like, we're going to jail. This whole thing's, like, this is so devastated. This whole thing's happening. And the first guys came out and they were like yelling at us. They're like, this is government land. You know what you're doing? We're like, no, we have no idea. And they're like, we're calling our boss or whatever. And then the boss drives up, and the dude's like 6'4", big old, Fu Manchu mustache. Like, we're just like, this guy's gonna kill us. And we go through the whole thing, and then he's like, so how far do those things shoot? Right? Like 100 yards. Like, prove it. Like, what? He's like, shoot it. I'm like, is this a trick? Like, are you gonna like? Yeah. And so we shot with him. Then he was like, I want to shoot it. And we were all shooting together. And then he was awesome. He's like, send me the DVD. I want my kids to like learn how we're gonna make these. So it ended up being really good. But she was convinced that we were all going to jail. She's like, I'm gonna have the twins are gonna be born while we're in jail. This is like the worst thing ever.
They're gonna meet their dad through a glass thing, like their little hands. Like.
So yeah, but I think all the time, like I do these crazy things. She's like always just instant, like, when we're going to jail, what's gonna happen? And then when something like that happens where we almost get arrested, and she's like,
see, we need to interview Colette. We need, like, all this from her.
She has this trauma, just like,
yeah, just
it was horrible.
And it's never stopped. Yeah. It's still happening now.
I wish she would retire.
That's so funny. So once you started, I mean, because ClickFunnels, I mean, essentially really hasn't even been around that long. It's like, what, 10 years? Mm-hmm. 10 years. And
hey, Chris,
was it?
We got the potato gun right here.
Oh, you have the, oh my God. Okay, you brought it. Yeah, I actually, okay, let me see. because I asked you if you had one because I was like, oh, this would be so cool to shoot.
This has got a mini. Usually this thing's a lot longer.
I remember the one that we had because we had one at our church.
Oh, really?
Like I remember at our church we had potato guns, and it was
each other
huge. I remember it being like so gigantic.
There is, if you watch the course, there's so the barrel to chamber volume. So based on this to this, so this should probably be like a 6 foot long pipe for it actually to shoot correctly, according to the.
And then you actually sold the whole, like the kits, everything.
Yeah, this company was around when we launched these, and so I called them up, and then they drop shipped them for me. Because at first I was like trying to figure out how am I going to make these guns. Yeah, so we drop shipped them.
That's so smart. Okay, so you didn't have to keep the.
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
Because when Mike Filsame was the first person, he's like, tell me about an upsell. He's like, because he's like, you know, McDonald's does upsells. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I did that on my site, and like, we're making way more money. I'm like, really? I'm like, what would I upsell? He's like, well, what does somebody have to buy your DVD? I'm like, well, they have to go buy pipes and glue. He's like, just sell a kit then. I'm like, I'm just gonna go make a kit and ship it out. And that's why I started Googling. And sure enough, there's a company in Northern Idaho, quartermilecanyons.com, there's the link. And I called them up and they're like, yeah, we'll sell you wholesale price. Here's the pricing and just send us the address and we'll ship them out to people. And I was like, done.
This is so genius because everything in business, I mean, and everything that you're saying in these stories and everything even from my experience too, it's like there's always an obstacle, but then there's always a solution. Yeah. And so many people focus on the obstacle instead of the solution. And it's like for you, it's like, oh, I want to sell potato guns. Someone might be like, but I can't get the material and shoot it out, and ship it out. But you said, okay, well, is there another solution for this?
Yeah.
And I feel like business is more of like a commitment than like an opportunity. It's like it's not about the opportunity, it's about the commitment of the person. You know, like, hey, am I committed to just constantly finding a solution to the problems over and over and over again? Like all these problems are always going to come up in business. When I first started with my first offer, so, and that was, again, from this book, it was, I was teaching musicians. So I was in music industry. And I had watched your ads. So your ads would always pop up in my stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run ads. So I became obsessed with paid marketing. Kind of like you, I had read Entrepreneur Magazine. I used to see where they would talk about all the franchises. I don't know if you ever get that. And there's like 500 franchises. And I'm like, I want to start a laundromat, like whatever, it's just like the most
random. Cost $5 million. Like,
right, exactly. I'm like, oh man, I need $500,000. And then I read yours and it was like, wait, your book was so much different because it was like, hey, there's like almost no startup cost. And you actually just sell what's already in your head. Like that was the craziest concept to me, but it made sense. Like kind of like when you read your book, you're like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah.
I read your book and I'm like, this absolutely makes sense. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make millions of dollars. I told all my family, like, I'm going to make millions of dollars. And I was like, Mom, you can make millions of dollars too. Like I started calling this guy. His name's Russell Brunson. He said all we had to do is release a funnel.
Did they believe you?
And well, I don't know. My family was just kind of like, okay, honey.
Good luck.
Yeah, like my mom didn't say like, that's not going to happen. She just like, okay, honey. And I had like launched Shopify stores. I had done a bunch of different stuff. And I had run like, paid ads and I had done stuff for like a couple of years and I hadn't gotten any sales, like nothing. And then yours was like sell information and do it through, like a funnel. And right away it was like, okay, I gotta find people to buy it. Like what's, the audience. And for you, like what was, even with ClickFunnels, like where, and I'm asking this because I know a lot of people that are watching right now, like want to launch a business, they want to, put themselves out there, but they're like, well, how would I find customers? I don't have lots of people that follow me or anything like that. Yeah. How did you start off when you finally got into ClickFunnels? Where did you go? Like, how did you get your first sales? Yeah.
So we didn't buy any ads for the first 2 years of ClickFunnels because I didn't know how to buy ads. And so what I did is I had just been in the business for a long time, so I knew a lot of other people that were doing it. And again, we were always sharing notes because in the universe, people selling stuff online is not huge. There's a lot of people, but it's not a huge universe, as you know. And so I got to know people. We go to events and meet people. And I was selling potato gun DVDs. They were selling other stuff. But a lot of people, just like your business, like you started with musicians, but now you like sharing the marketing to other people. So a lot of them, like me, like I was selling potato guns and weight loss products and speed reading courses, but then I was also kind of teaching on the side. And so I had a little list. It wasn't huge, but we had a list of customers who I'd taught some of the stuff I was doing too. And then I knew a lot of other people that also had lists of customers. And so that's how I started. Was first we just promoted it to my customer list and we sold some. And then the conversion numbers were good. So I called my friends. I'm like, hey, we did this webinar to my list. Like this, the numbers, how it's doing. Do you want to do a webinar to your list? we'll pay 40% commission. Like, sure. And so what I do is I do a webinar to that person's list. If the webinar crushed, then they'd get 40% commission, I get 60. And so then I would I try to send their check as fast as I could. It's usually like, we do a webinar on Thursday, we're writing them a check on Sunday night, or Monday morning, so they get it and overnight it. So I want them to get the checks. They get like a $20,000 check. And I'm like, hey, there's your commissions. Thanks so much for promoting. By the way, we have a 2-tier affiliate program. So if you have any friends that want to run this webinar, I'll pay them 40%, but I'll pay you 10%. And they're like, oh, I got 5 friends. And so then they would go and like do the introduction, like, hey, I just ran Russell's webinar, it crushed, you should do it. Hey, and then they'd introduce me to 5 friends. So I do 5 more webinars, pay them 40%, send the money back as quick, and like, hey, do you have any friends? And then those 5, each were 5. And eventually I did, I think, 70 something live webinars in a row in 8 months, and went from $0 to $10 million in sales in that time. And it was just that kind of thing.
And that was with no paid ads.
No paid ads, yeah. 100% just us finding people who had customers, and then 2-tier affiliate program. Who do you got that could also promote this? And they all want, because they also how good it converted to their list. Like, oh, this is free money. It's free money, and then it was easy because they could also tell a person like, as to Russell's webinar, I got 60K from the webinar. I got 30K, whatever it was. And it's just like the best cold intro to a new joint venture partner, and we just did that over and over and over again.
Well, that's an easy offer for them. Like, hey, just let me do my webinar to your list.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. A lot of people don't think of like little things like this. And I know even for me, when I first started out, that was how I got my first sale of my course. So I made a course first for musicians. It was how to book a show in 7 days. And the very first, I had tried running ads at first, and I think I spent like a couple $1,000s and I didn't get any sales. But then I had found a singing coach. There was a guy that taught singers, and I did the exact same thing. So I just said, okay, let me teach my webinar, and I followed your perfect webinar script like to the T. Like I just watched it all the time. I was like, I watched you teach it, and I just like copied. I think I bought your slides where you give the slides away, if I remember correctly. I'm like, I took the slides, and I remember I made them, and they were the ugliest slides ever that I did, but they worked, and we sold. I reached out to like 100 different people that already taught musicians, and all of them said no, that I couldn't do a webinar, but there was this one guy that said yes, and I did it, and we did one on a Wednesday, and we sold like $2,000 worth, so we sold like 2. And I remember the first time I did it, though, I was too scared to do it live, so I just played a recording, and I was living in the garage. So I didn't want to like play, like I'm like, here guys, in my garage. You could be like me one day, if you try real hard. But at the time, I had actually toured all over the world. I had done some really cool stuff, but whatever. One bad decision, and you're in the garage. This is why I only do what you say to do. Like when I listen to me, I end up in a garage, and when I listen to you, I make millions of dollars. So I'm like, whatever Russell says, I do. But I did the webinar, and it did good. And then I was like, oh my God, we made $2,000. And so I called him. I was like, you want to do it again tomorrow? And he was like, sure.
You did it twice in a row, same guy.
So I did it again, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I didn't know that this was weird, so I asked him, hey, could I have your email list? And I'll like email them, and well, I'll just do it so you don't have to deal with it. And he was like, sure. And so he like sent me his email list. It was like maybe 4,000 people. And then so like we did another webinar, and that was our exchange. Like I did another webinar. We made I think we made like $4,500 total. And then I had this email list. And then I had like 4,000 people on this. And I had always heard you say email list. There's all power in the email list, in the email list. And it happened to be like one of the best things that I had ever done, because then we created lookalike audiences, started running paid ads, and all that kind of stuff. But
that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but it was almost like it was almost like me being naive and not knowing that was, because like I'm not going to go over, hey, Russell, can I have your email list? Like, you want to just send it to me?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
sure,
I think the fact also that you said you asked like 100 people. I think most people get in their head and they won't even ask. And they do ask. They ask like, I have people all the time. I asked everyone and they said no. I'm like, how many people did you ask? I'm like, 3. I'm like, okay, that's not everybody. Because I'm the same way. Like when we do any launch, even today, like I'll ask 100 people, and from that like 30 people will say, yeah, I'll do it, and then from that like 2 actually do. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it's all a numbers game, and people get so discouraged from one no, and it's like, from knocking doors. Like you had to knock on 100 doors to get, 1 or 2 yeses.
Yeah, well, that's what I was about to say. I think it really comes from going door to door, like just knowing that it is a numbers game, and you could have the best offer in the world, and some people you just hit them at the wrong time, and you don't even take it personal. Like, hey, they don't want to buy the product. It's just either your wrong audience or the wrong timing or whatever. But I know even for me, it's like, going door to door, I'd have someone literally just yelling in my face, like, get off my property. And like, I remember one guy even told his kid to yell at me. So I had like a little kid on his tricycle. Like I was like, wow, I'm getting like so degraded, right? You know, like a 5-year-old's telling you you're a loser. Like you feel like a loser. And I remember I went and I sat in the alley and I cried because I was like, God, that was embarrassing. I just got yelled at by a kid on a tricycle. Like,
what does my life become?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how did I end up here? And I'm crying in the in the alleyway. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go out there. This is a defining moment. But I left way too soon, so I went door to door again. But I was still crying. So I remember I knocked on the door, and the person opened the door, and I'm like, do you want to buy a CD? Like, I'm still crying. The guy's like, are you okay? And I'm like, it's my allergies. It's the most terrible thing, but I was so determined, you know, to make it happen.
Did he buy?
No,
Oh.
he didn't buy, but I kept going. And I ended up making like a couple $100 that day. So I was like, you know what? It's again, 9 out of 10 people say no. 1 person says yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, if someone's like, you know, starting out, I love to talk about offer creation as well. Like when you think of offers that you get excited about, like, are there specific things that like right now, like where you are, you've sold so many things. What are like the things that you go, this is what makes an irresistible offer. This is how you know you have something that people like want to buy. Like, what are the basics of that?
Yeah, the first part I always think about is I think about 12-year-old Rusty in the bed holding my junk mail and like, what stuff am I putting in this pile? Like, what stuff am I like, Mom, I have to borrow your credit card. Like that's always the feeling I try to get, because I remember feeling that and just like it made sense. I'm like, I have to get this, you know? And so I always think about 12-year-old Rusty, like, okay, would he be, if I was to like explain this to him, would he be like, oh, cool, and like put it in that pile? Or he'd be like, Mom, I need your credit card. Like that's,
right.
So that's my first lens. I always look at everything through, right? Then the second lens I look through is just trying to, like, I don't know, people mess up on offers because they're just like, I don't know, they just put together a bunch of stuff and hopefully sell, right? Versus like how do you create so much value that the thing you're selling seems really cheap? Like that's like the thing. Not like I'm gonna sell a course for $1,000, which people, that's the lens people look at. It's like instead it's like how to create something that's so amazing that people think $1,000 is cheap, right? And like I was thinking about this, like if I was to drive down to like the poorest area in the world, right? And I come down and I was like, hey, I have a course. Do you want to buy it for $1,000? They'd be like, that seems expensive. No, I don't. I'm broke. I don't have $1,000. It seems expensive. But if I drove that same person, I'm driving a brand new Lambo, right? I was like, hey, here's a Lambo. Do you want to buy it for 10 grand? The most broke person on the planet will figure out a way to get 10 grand to buy that, right? Because the value side, it's like, this is worth $500,000 and you sell for 10 grand. Like, I will go rob a bank if I need to get the money, right? Like,
selling a kidney.
Yeah, whatever it takes. Yeah. But they'll figure it out, right?
Yeah.
But and all it was is I just created a better offer. Like, and so for me, it's always like I'm going to sell a $1,000 course. Like, how do I create something that's so irresistible that when I show it to them, they're like, yeah, I'll go sell a kidney. Like that makes so much sense. Like, what you're selling me for 500 or 1,000 or whatever the price is, even 100 grand. Like, this is what it's worth. Like, it seems cheap. Like, if you can get in their mind, right, this seems really inexpensive, then that's the key, right? And that's what most people miss. And so it's not just putting together a bunch of stuff. It's like, I need to get that feeling where by the time I'm going through there, they're literally, it's like whatever it takes. Like, I believe it, I understand it, this makes sense. Like, the value's so big, this feels free. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what I love about entrepreneurship is like, we immediately have to make the world a better place because we have to solve people's problems.
Yeah.
And the more problems that we solve, and you always say this, the bigger problem, the more problems you can solve, the more rich you can become.
Yeah.
Or the bigger, if you find the cure for cancer or the cure for something really big that, can change people's lives, the more value exchange,
yeah.
Whatever value you bring to the world. And I always joke, I'm like, that's like how God tricked us to be good people. It's like for you to make money, you have to like actually solve people's problems. But one person that I learned from before you, and I always think, I think this is such a lesson in choosing who leads you. Like who are you going to decide to follow? And so, Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
And Dave Ramsey, I had come across his teachings when I was like $18,000 in debt. And $18,000 in debt to me at that time was like $1 billion.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, how am I going to get out of $18,000 in debt? And like his pitch was, if you do nothing you like, never go out to eat, don't buy anything expensive, buy your wedding dress at Walmart. In 5 years, if you live a miserable life, guess what you'll have? nothing, like 0, you know what I mean? And I was like, wow, like 0, nothing, you know, but when you're in that much pain.
Yeah, 0 sounds nice.
0 sounds nice, but like that was the offer. And so I followed him. And so I did the things he said to do, and took me 4.5 years, and I got out of debt. And I read his book. He had a book called Millionaire Next Door, I think is what it was called. And it talked about how if you if you live this life super frugally and do nothing that you enjoy, maybe when you're 65, one day, you'll be able to be a millionaire, but you'll be 65 and your knees won't work anymore. And I was like, so I remember my brain being slightly confused because I was like, he's saying this like this is exciting.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
But it doesn't sound exciting to me, you know? But I'm trying but this guy's known and he's respected and it's great, to each his own. But then I came across your books and you were like, if you come up with a good idea that solves people's problems, you could be a millionaire. Mm-hmm. And I look at the time frame of I spent about 4.5 years trying to get out of debt. It took me about 4.5 years to pay off that $18,000. With you, it took me 18 months to make millions of dollars. Uh-huh.
So cool.
When you think about how some people focus on, and I think Myron Golden had this in one of his books. I think he said something about poor people focus on the obstacle, rich people focus on the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I was like, God, that's such a huge lesson, because I was so focused on the obstacle of how do I penny pinch? How do I guess I'm just eating at Golden Corral every Sunday? You know what I mean? And I love Golden Corral, by the way. So actually, that's not a bad thing. But so I'm like making all these sacrifices. Whereas if you look at the opposite side, where it's well, how do I bring value to the world, which is your teaching, and I solve enough problems, I can make a lot of money. Yeah. And I think of how it's our choices, right? And we were talking about this even before this started. The choices that we make are so powerful, and so choosing to follow you as opposed to choosing to follow something that's rooted in lack changed my life entirely.
That's so cool.
So
I remember I was a church class, and it was all about budgeting and financial freedom or whatever, right? And so the lesson manual and all the people talking, it's how can you get out of debt? How can you do stuff? And so everyone's answers were, the same things don't go out to eat, which are all great things, right? And I remember I was sitting there, and so finally, I raised my hand, and I was make more money. And they all started laughing. I was like, am I the idiot here? You just make more money. It was not, then it crossed any of their minds you could just make more money.
Make more money.
I was but that solves the problem, and then you don't have to not do cool things. I'd much rather do cool things.
Yes.
And again, if you learn how to do it the right way, again, instead of going, one to many, where it's just the leverage of it's insane, I still think it just blows my mind. When you learn this, you can make more. Think about this. I made more in 90 minutes on stage than most people will make in their career. And what was the difference? Leverage, right?
Right.
And I think that's what when you understand how the leverage works and one to make the whole thing, then it just opens up the doors for just okay, how do I get a bigger audience so I can just make an offer to more people? And then I made more money, not because I was better or because the product was different, it's just I had more people to sell it to at once. And that shift then gives you freedom.
And the question that you ask yourself is it's the questions, again, it's so powerful. How do I get out of debt? Will give you one type of answer, as opposed to how do I make more money? And that creates new questions, how do I create a product that people want to buy? How do I get in front of an audience? How do I create value? Mm-hmm. And so right now you're, for people that are watching it, they're wanting to get started. You have Selling Online now, which is awesome. And I love it. It's a 3-day event. Yep. And I'm going to put a link here for everyone to check it out, because I just think that if anyone's able to learn from anybody, I'm just going to be here Russell, there's Russell and there's Jesus. That's it. That's what it is. There's two people and I don't know which one in order. It might be. It's a pretty close call. Russell, you're oh God, no. But if someone were to, do you feel that would be a good introduction for someone? Is that just for beginners? Is that for people that already have a business?
It's a fun thing. I love the event because if someone comes to it without anything, and it's okay, because the very first, the first thing we focus on is actually creating a really good offer. And so I call it level 10 offer. So in my mind, level 10 offer is the kind of offer where if you're on stage and you make that offer, people are going to run to the back and jump over trying to buy the thing, right? Or if you're doing it on a webinar or a challenge, that the person's going to jump up and run around trying to find their wallet, begging their spouse, like, I need to borrow the credit card, you know, like, so it's like, how do you create that kind of offer first? And so that's really good for beginners because most beginners don't have an offer. But also people who do have an offer, is like all the little tweaks we do to make your offer feel really inexpensive, right? To make it just sexy so people are like, I have to buy this thing, right? So that's the first part. The second, then we focus on like actually crafting and creating the presentation that you'll give to sell the offer. And then number 3 then is like, how do you get the menu to show up? How do you gather the people, get in traffic and stuff? And now you get a bunch of people, make the presentation, sell the offer, and boom, that's the game. So that's what we cover in 3 days, and it's the least expensive thing we do. It's $100, you know, it's $33 a day, which is like $1.
And it's like a full like day. It's like a full
it's like 8-hour days.
Right? And like by the end, is it like they know how to?
Yeah, because it's not just me talking at them. Like we'll do a session teaching the strategies and techniques they need, and then we break into breakout rooms. So everyone breaks down, and then they're actually working on stuff, and then you get to meet with people that are also going through the event, and like ask them questions, figure things out, and then you come back. And so it's like you're actually getting stuff done as you go through it, which is nice because in the past I would do events where I would just like for 3 days, just like here's everything I have, like I want to over deliver, and then people leave like overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And this people leave way less overwhelmed and like an actual blueprint, and like you figured things out, like you kind of crafted your offer. You haven't made it yet, but you've crafted this is what my offer could be. You got checked by some other people who give feedback and say, okay, now I know how to do the offer. Now let's go to the next step, you know, and then so it takes you step by step, and it's amazing. It's my favorite thing we do.
So good, so good. I want everyone to join it. Like I still join all of your trainings. I still like, and I've already done so much, but I still continue to learn from you. And so when I tell people, like, I'm going to put the link here underneath. When I talk about like how, again, I mentioned for just 6 years ago, it feels like literally yesterday I'm watching you. I'm in the, doing the webinar, I'm reading the book, but really it was like, I started off with Expert Secrets, the fact that you have all this like online training where they get more and more exposure. But even just the exposure to the idea, just the idea of what's possible. Where I'm from, it's like it was normal for like our friends to die. Like it was a very like violent place. And it was like, everyone was like, my neighbor, they ate every day because their chicken laid an egg. And if their chickens didn't lay eggs, they didn't eat. So it was like, It was just very much like poverty, and it was normal, and it wasn't weird. And whenever I came into your world, it was like, hey, it's not abnormal to be rich. It's like, hey, it's actually, that could be your normal. Like it could be normal for you to make money, but your mind has to like expand. So I just want to emphasize how amazing Expert Secrets was for me and everyone that is watching, because this was like huge. And I hope that everyone joins Selling Online. I'm going to put the link down below. Well, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for answering all those questions. I just want to encourage everybody, get Expert Secrets. I'm putting the link below, get Expert Secrets. And I did something special. So I prepared some things. You've done so much for me that I wanted to actually help you get more sales. And I wanted to, so I have a special section of some advice that I'm gonna give you, Russell, okay? Okay, so I put together some closing techniques for you. So you always say, to test stuff, so I have like a few different ways that I would like for you to test getting more conversions on your webinars. So are you selling ClickFunnels still on webinars? Okay, so let's say you get to the end, and you've already done your stack, you've already done everything, everyone's all excited. I kind of have this idea that like, instead of talking about like all the positive things, we kind of like scare people like a little bit, and we kind of like, maybe we threaten them, but like just in like a nice way.
Threats.
Yeah, like nice threats. So you could be like, hey, so if you don't buy this, I'm gonna assume that you're a racist.
That might work.
You think it might work? Do you think you could maybe try it on your next webinar? You could be like, I'm not saying that you are, I'm just saying people might think that you are.
Would that make me a racist or not?
Well, how about I can sit next to you, because I'm
my friend Kristine's got something she wants to tell you.
You could be like, I have a friend, she's Mexican, I'm not racist. I have a Mexican friend. We can do that. I'll be there, and I'll be like, gracias. So that they can, they'll be like, well, he's friends with minorities. Therefore, he's not a racist, so I have to buy his funnel software.
We could try it.
Okay, I'm down. And okay, so I have another one. So you say, all right, just so you know, everybody that said no to this webinar in the past died in a horrible car accident within 6 months. Anyway, totally your call. And then you just like sit in silence.
And just wait.
And then play like music. Like, dun, 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 dun. Just like stare.
Did he freeze or is he like,
Yeah,
like no?
I think you just like, no, just stare. I think that could work. Or the last one. Okay, these are all like, you could stack these. I feel like you could like stack them right after another. Like, you know, like you do like pitch after closing technique. And then the last one you go, if you don't buy, you're dead to me. And then I think people are gonna like really want your approval. So they're gonna be like, well, I better get my
I
credit
need
card
your
out.
Russell's approval.
What do you think?
It's like the dead stack. They're all tied somehow to death.
I think it'll work.
Yeah, specialists who are afraid of death.
Yes, yeah. So we just scare people. And you could teach this you could write this about in your book.
Bonus chapter.
Yes, bonus chapter. Collaborated with Kristine.
My friend wrote a bonus chapter. You guys should all read it.
Yes, we're going to create amended versions of all your books.
With special bonus chapter.
Yes,
Kristine Mirelle.
closing techniques. Okay, I also have ideas for offers.
Okay.
Okay, so you know how like there's orphans?
Yeah.
So like you have a whole audience of entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs need like social media managers. So like what you could do is you could have like a school where you train orphans how to become social media managers, and then you tell the entrepreneurs to adopt them, and now they have a full-time social media manager, and the orphans got adopted. Everybody wins.
It's like free labor, right?
Yeah, it's free labor, and they got like a parent. Like if they want anything else, like that's just selfish. Like they're loved now.
Yeah, a parent and a job.
And a job.
You should be happy.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it could be like influencer
The
adoptions.
orphan clothes.
Yeah, influencer adoptions. Like it'd be great. No medical leave.
Yeah.
There's no laws. Sorry.
How many orphans are there in the country? Like, do we know the numbers?
Too many.
Too many.
Too many.
We could sell a lot of these
We
things.
could.
This could be big.
This could be your high ticket offer. And you could
Orphan
linchpin
secrets.
subscription.
Every
A
month.
monthly.
If you cancel, we're taking your orphan back.
Orphan
and that's going to look really bad on you.
Yeah. They're going to be really sad. So you better make this work.
Are you sure? Look at their face.
Yeah.
Like,
I think, and we could play In the Arms of the Angel. You know,
in the cancellation fund with that plush plane.
Angel. Yeah, exactly. Like no refunds. So I have another idea, and I feel like this could be like a whole campaign. So I'm Mexican, and given like the climate right now politically, I feel like you could do like a whole campaign just to the Latin community. And I think that the message could be, you could make money from anywhere, even if you get deported.
Laptop lifestyle, right?
And I think that I could be the face of it, okay? And like we could change your slogan. It could be like, ClickFunnels, porque es amazing. Or ClickFunnels para siempre. Like, and then we could have like music. Maybe you get some tamales, like as like a upsell. I don't know, like something. But it'd be great. And then you could have testimonials like, I got deported, but I'm still making money from my laptop. You know, like it could be like.
We have to make this ad now. We can't not make it.
You don't have to tempt me with a good time. I just like, as if you're down, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Let's do it. Para siempre. Like, we'll have like music. Be like great. Be like, I was making money in the United States, but now I'm in an island in Mexico. It's great anyway. Either way.
Expert secrets.
Expert secrets. Can we do it?
Yeah, we need
Okay.
to. Can we? I think we can.
So I have a couple other things. I have a few. Okay, these are like, I want to ask you a few questions. I just want you to give me like fast the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Favorite book?
Think and Grow Rich.
Favorite food?
Sushi.
What time do you wake up in the morning?
5.
What's your credit card number?
Uh,
Okay, what was the worst failing product you've ever sold?
Oh, ever? Probably my green drink.
Ooh, what was that?
Zuma juice.
Okay. Aliens exist or don't exist?
Don't.
Don't.
Well, I could argue. What's the definition of alien?
The little green alien guy. Anybody off this planet?
I do think, 100% of people,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. What song do you listen to pump yourself up before you go on stage?
Loyal, Odessa.
Okay. Oh,
Yes.
I love it. Okay, what's the worst thing that someone has ever tried to sell you?
Somebody tried to sell me into a coffee MLM because everyone in America drinks coffee except for the Mormons.
Oh, except for the Mormons.
Yeah, I'm like, you did not do your homework. He's like, every single person in America drinks coffee every morning. We're gonna be rich. I was like, except for the Mormons. He's like, yeah, but who's gonna like? I'm like, I'm a Mormon. I'm not gonna pitch your coffee. It's got weird. So he tried.
That's so funny. He did no research at all. Like, though he had one chance to talk to you about something.
I was like,
he's like, coffee. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. Actually, True. Do you have music? Do you have like sad music? So I'm going to ask you to tell a story, but we want to play some sad music as you're telling us the story. Tell us about the most embarrassing moment of your life on stage.
Oh, it was the very first time I was on stage. So I was already...
But say it really sad, though.
It was my very first time on stage. I was already so nervous because I've never done that. And I'd seen other people sell, so I was like, oh, I can do this. So I did my whole presentation. I remember getting to the close, and my close line was, I'm not going to insult you like the other speakers did. This is how much it costs. Because I thought that all these games were just dumb. And normally when you get done speaking and you sell, they turn the music on so it's not awkward. But I just ended. And they didn't turn the music on. And nobody clapped, and I just stood there for what seemed like days. And then I slowly shuffled off the stage. And it was a room where the only exit was behind everyone. So I'd walk through everyone. And everyone's like, good presentation, good presentation. And I was like, thanks.
They're like, nice try.
Yeah. I got to the back, and then I got to the door, and I ran to the elevator. And then I went to my room, and it was a 3-day event. And normally an event, backstage all the speakers brag how much money they made. How many did you close? How many did you close? And I didn't want to tell them I closed none, so I hid in my hotel room for 3 days. And I'd never ordered room service before because my mom used to tell me it was too expensive. But I didn't want to leave, so I ordered room service, 3 meals a day, coconut shrimp and Haagen-Dazs ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 3 days. And then the next morning I snuck out when my taxi was here and ran and then went home. And that was my first time speaking from stage. Oh yeah, it was so embarrassing. And now whenever I'm depressed, I think about coconut shrimp and Haagen-Dazs. It literally pops in my head as like, this will make you feel better.
Every time you see it, it's like...
It's like a trigger, like, wait a minute.
I'm a loser. I'm just eating the ice cream.
Looking at the calories on the Haagen-Dazs, I'm like, this is like 2,000 calories. I had 3 of them today.
Calories.
Oh.
And look at you now making, ads with, all our Mexican campaigns that we're going to be doing. You've come so far.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge. Okay, I have one last thing. So I have a proposal. I created something. And I have a prototype. Well, I don't have a prototype, I have a picture of it. And you always say that we solve problems. Bless you, sorry. We solve them all. Salud! I'm all, shh. So you always say to solve problems. And so I always think, I'm kind of always in that state, walking around going, is there a problem? Is there a problem? Is someone unhappy? And on the plane, I noticed that when there's crying babies, everyone's really upset. So I was like, man, how could we solve this problem? So I created something to solve that problem, and I want to see if you'll partner with me on it.
Quiet baby bag. I think you got a winner. I don't know.
So it's a bag.
Cheers, I'll see this.
And it's soundproof.
Airproof, probably.
Well, and I figured we could have oxygen as an upsell because they gotta breathe.
Congratulations on buying your Quiet Baby bag. Now, if you love your baby and you like them to survive, we've had a one-time upsell.
Well, look, you notice, look, they're unhappy here, and then now the people are happy there.
Look how calm she looks, too.
Yeah,
way
she's just way happier now that she has the The baby bag.
So how much do you need? Like, what are you looking for? What
I'm
percentage of your
thinking
company?
like $3 million
For what percent?
for like 5%. Because this is going to be
So
so
you're
big.
valuing this at 15. No, that's not
You know what I
right.
think? I think everyone else on the
$1
yeah, and I think everyone else on the plane's going to buy it just to hand to the ladies, and we could get them to already have them on the plane for sale.
This is really creative. But I don't think it's actually a good idea.
I think it's going to work. In fact, I know exactly where I'm going to build it.
Please don't say ClickFunnels.
ClickFunnels.
Who set up this interview?